Hello, my name's Jeff Banks and welcome to Retail Insight here at the Spring Fair. I'm delighted to be joined by Mike Winch from Candlelight, and as ever, we're saving the best till last because Mike, who is a brilliant entrepreneur, has actually been exhibiting at Spring Fair for 53 years. We're actually celebrating a 75th anniversary of the Spring Fair, would you believe? And it still remains the biggest trade fair in Great Britain. So Mike, 53 years, yeah, that's some going. Can you remember the first time you exhibited?
Certainly can. And effectively, what we learned very quickly is trade fairs bring immediate business, to say nothing of business for the future. And we've participated many trade fairs over the 53 years and will continue to do so because it's key to the business.
So can you remember 53 years ago, probably you didn't have like a pot full of money and you had to put an exhibition stand together. Can you remember what you actually did? Because I can remember the first time I exhibited.
I remember that we finished building the stand, I think, 2:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And then I looked at Candlelight, and the guy who'd done the sign writing spelt Candlelight wrong. And we were actually on the stand 9 a.m. the next morning with very little sleep and a lot of anger, a lot of aggression. But it was well worth it.
Yeah.
It was an eye-opener for a guy starting up a business with next to nothing, to realise that, you know, everyone that walked past the stand was a potential customer.
And how did you get into candles in the first place? I've always found that curious.
So 71, Arthur Scargill held the country to ransom.
Yeah.
I used to work for Johnson's Wax,
Right.
selling polish and sparkle. And every customer said to me, Mike, you must do candles called Johnson Wax. So basically, myself and my original partner worked out how to make candles. We started making candles in the kitchen. We put £10 in each, and we bought the materials, made them in the kitchen, made the 40 quid into 120 quid, sold them, then reinvested the money, and you were making quite big margins. So we built the business from effectively a £20 input.
So, and that now has actually grown into a massive empire.
Massive business, yeah. UK, Hong Kong, China.
So,
and Jeff Banks.
and Jeff Banks. So, again, what actually gave you the impetus to do that? Was it to make money, or was it the pleasure? What was it triggered that entrepreneurial quality? Why did you do it?
I think after being told at school that I was a hopeless case,
weren't we all?
I eventually found myself when I woke up and said, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Around about 20, start messing around. And it was the situation where Johnson's Wax were perceived as candle makers that gave us the opportunity. And in lots of ways, it was a complete new experience. Everything was new. There was a passion to take orders. There was a passion to make the product. We delivered it. You know, one of us worked in the factory for a week while the other one went out selling from the back of a van. And when you'd sold half your stock, you could then sleep in the van properly. So it was just exciting.
Yeah.
Absolutely exciting. No ambition to build a big business, just to enjoy the lifestyle and enjoy the thrust of doing something and creating something yourself.
What's been the best bit for you in the last 50 years?
Okay. The people I've worked with, the customers, and the suppliers, and the travel, and learning about the world, learning about all the different people, and what I realised actually, it doesn't matter where you go, we're all the same. We all want the same things in life. Coming back to Candlelight UK, I've got people who've worked with me for 48 years, and many people have worked there for 30, 35 years. and you invest in your customers, your employees, and your suppliers, eventually it pays back. You
And
know?
what's the worst bit for you? What's been the worst bit, the low point?
I'll tell you the worst
Yeah.
point. So I did things between 15 and 20, which was basically being in a band. Earned quite a bit of money at the time. Bought my own house for cash. Then when the idea for business kicked off, the bank were very, very happy to lend us some money to grow the business, but they took my deeds and my partner's deeds. And then maybe 2 years on, we hit troubles or cash flow problems, and the bank were gonna. It was a bank holiday. The bank on the Tuesday were going to tell us whether they'd support us or not. My son, who was 3, his granddad had built him a sandpit. I refused to put any sand in other than a bag. And I looked at everything and just thought, on Tuesday, some guy could decide it's all gone.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst business moments, because it lasted for 3 days, just hanging around waiting for, the banks to get back to work to tell me.
And did they take the business?
They lent us the money.
They lent you the money?
Yeah. So fine.
Because I know the reverse of that, because it happened to me that the bank in 1974 wouldn't support me in an insurance claim, and they took everything, every house, every car, the lot. And I ended up with 200 quid.
Well, a common friend of ours says, Mike, running a business, it ain't easy.
That's right.
It's not easy.
So, Mike, what would you say is your proudest moment?
My proudest moment is that my son, who has worked for the business for maybe the last 12 years, I went out to effectively replace me, and recruited and interviewed lots of people, quite high-powered people, experienced people, effectively, as I saw it. But what I realised, actually, that when it didn't work out, and Ben became the MD of the company, that the company had the best MD it had ever had before. Does an unbelievable job for the family and for the employees and for the suppliers and for the customers. And then 3 years ago, my daughter joined the business. So I believe that Candlelight, is not for Christmas. It will continue, hopefully, the next generation and the generation after that. And that gives me an unbelievable amount of pride that the business we started with 10 quid, 20 pounds, is now flowering and moving on from all the work that I'd put in over the years. And I can step back and trust the people that they are gaining experience every day with my support and Sue's support. And,
so what gets you out of bed now? Because you've got a few bob. You don't need to do that. You're comfortable, but you are still in the business every day. Why?
I believe actually working keeps you mentally fit, physically fit. I actually believe that when we move on in our years, that you got to look at yourself and you got to work out what you need to do to make sure that you get as much out of life as you can. And I believe work and the whole process and giving back the experience and the judgment is important. It's important for me, physically and mentally. It's important for my employees, my family.
But do you enjoy it? Because customers can drive you nuts, suppliers can drive you nuts, the authorities can drive you nuts.
I love being driven. I really do. My take is that what I've learned over the years, I accept some of the things that cards I'm dealt, and my take is I'll stand up and sort it, whoever. So that's part and parcel of the mentality that started 53 years ago with 10 quid. The world's your oyster. So coming back to the point that I actually believe that, to stay fit in later life, instead of retiring, keep working.
So you talked about the legacy of Candlelight, now safely in the hands of your two kids. What do you see the next 25 years looking like in retail? Where do you see us going?
Right. So if we go back 24 years, Candlelight dealt with effectively a whole tranche of retailers that are no longer there. They've all gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
And some of those businesses went bust completely unnecessarily because they were run by people who didn't know how to run businesses. They thought they did, etc. And there are many examples of that. Wilkinson's been one, Woolworth's been another, BHS being another. So I view retail this way, that it's forever shifting sands. There's always new people on the block. If you look at major retailers now, B&M Bargains, Dunelm, Home Bargains, The Range. These guys were all market traders 25 years ago, busting a gut to make a living, and now they're all billionaires. And in 25 years' time, it will have changed again. And part and parcel of the NEC and trade fairs around the world is to make sure that you're keeping up and presenting and impressing everyone from an independent to a group of stores, maybe with 700 stores.
So you're convinced that people are still going to want to buy stuff?
Of course, yeah.
You are?
Yeah, well, look at the weather we're getting, what they're supposed to do. They either go abroad and complain it's too hot or go shopping.
Right.
And, we're a nation of homeowners, people of pride, and they want their homes to excite them and to relax them, etc., etc. That retail has always been big business. Yeah, there are changes. The internet was going strong in COVID, but I think people are now are wanting the retail experience to go back into the shops.
So what are you now going to do about the high street? Because I go to somewhere like Stoke-on-Trent, and I look at the high street in Stoke-on-Trent now, and it's appalling. It's a shame. It's like this. It's almost windswept, like somewhere out of the Wild West. How's that going to rejuvenate? Where are people actually going to go that they will enjoy this experience?
Well, it's not really just Stoke-on-Trent.
No, I use it as an example.
It's every town.
Yeah.
And what is sad is, towns that, had the hustle and the bustle, maybe in the 60s and the 70s, the planners weren't really in tune.
Yeah.
And ruined beautiful towns and replaced them with, concrete, this, that, and the other. That's a major problem. I don't think retail is going to prosper in the towns. I think what the councils have to do is work out how can they make the towns work for themselves. Yeah, obviously there are various places where the independent, but you're talking about Stoke-on-Trent, I'm talking about Rotherham and Doncaster,
right,
etc. Those aren't places for, progressive retailers to prosper. So once again, shifting sands. That 60 years ago there weren't any supermarkets. Now we have supermarkets. That's not so long ago. That people have got to be forever thinking, what is the trend? What do I want to make happen? How can I excite people? And that's the beauty about retail.
So you're at the rock face. You've got a very broad church of customer. Where are the ones that you're seeing? Not specifically the customer, but where are you looking and thinking, what they're doing is interesting. That's got legs. That's something new that I can see developing. What have you actually seen that's giving you the signpost to say where things are going?
Okay. Well, I think the interesting, you talk about France.
Yeah.
France is full of independent retail. You brought up about towns.
Yeah.
Right? That the problem with towns is that there are very few independent retailers, a lot of charity shops, tattoo artists, etc., etc. That I think that the independent retailer is key to the future of retail, not to be wiped out by the bigger people, finding their niche. You know, so we'll turn around and say, she always looks what they're investing the money in on repeating, because it's their money. It's the independent retailer's money, not the buyer of a national multiple who's,
Yeah.
no. So my take is that what I'd like to see, and I see an undercurrent of exciting independent retailers that are making things happen in their particular area. And I think the nation needs an upsurgence in independent retail to challenge some of the big guys that we know of, and so on and so forth. And my company is seeing a real boom with the independent retailer, where we're also associated with the major retailers, but we've got a product range that is aimed at the independents. And we're seeing a real enthusiasm to grow their business.
How are you able to support them? Because with the big companies, you get a credit rating, you get this, you're able to give them like extended terms, blah, 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 blah. How, you know, with small independents that need maybe a little bit of financial support if there's a bump in the road, how are you able to help them?
Well, the first thing we do, unlike certain companies, we take an order on trust first time. So we don't make people jump through hoops. We'll give them credit for, you know, £1,000 without any problem. And that's balanced. We have a very low bad debt ratio. So we can afford to trust. Yeah, we're not going to get it right every time. We're going to get one or two. But most of these independents, they needed what I needed from the bank, support, right? So as far as we're concerned, we won't credit check them out, this, that, and the other. We won't ask them to jump through hoops. We'll say, right, okay, you know, and then the onus is on them to keep their side of the bargain and pay us, and if it works, repeat. So we don't put hurdles up, because, you know, I experienced all that myself, and you know, hurdles sometimes you know, they stop you doing what you want to do. And
Yeah, they
so
prevent
we are
things
strong enough to take a a punt.
Okay.
And the other one we do is we don't ask for. We've got small minimum order. Nothing. So we're not putting barriers up, because effectively that small little retailer could end up to be whatever.
Yeah, Dunelm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Spring Fair, you're there every day. Get up in the morning, shorts and all.
Sure.
Why? What is it that excites you about bowling up to Spring Fair, walking through those doors when they open at 9 o'clock in the morning? What gives you a buzz?
Right. The interaction. Firstly, the staff. My staff. Our staff. So I want to see how hungry they are. So basically, part of my job is to ensure that they ain't bunching and missing what's going on. Costs a tremendous amount of money to do trade fair, and so on and so forth. So those guys that are working for us on the stand, it's not about chatting this and that. It's about being absolutely focused. And I seem to remember one of our girls last year, she didn't have time for you, Jeff, because she was hunting a 53rd order.
Yeah.
Later, Jeff.
I don't blame you.
No. Anyway, so it's almost educating the staff how to be, and we get everyone excited about what we've achieved on the day with orders for immediate delivery. And the other thing is customers love them. You know, customers put the petrol in the engine. If we don't have customers, we don't have orders, we don't have a company. So, you know, I wanna just take it or give it or whatever they, you know. And Sue, who you know very well, you know, she wants to know that, you know, what's selling out the shops, what's this, what's that, you know. So effectively, that customers are the most important aspect of our business, because for all the good people and the great suppliers, if we don't get orders, we ain't got a business. We never forget that. So, and as the older you get, you can, the harmonica, give them a bit of that. They think whatever they think, but it's just about enjoying the business.
So, you've kind of got that sewn up. You've done a few exhibitions in your time. Why is Spring Fair so good compared to other exhibitions?
Okay. The Spring Fair.
Somebody on here previously just said they consider it to be the best exhibition in the world.
Okay. Well, I'm going to say, without a doubt, 100%, it's the best exhibition in the UK.
Yeah.
And that is the heart of our market. And effectively, it enables us to present ourselves in a proactive manner. It's always generated a tremendous amount of orders for stock immediate delivery, which is important to any business. It also opens doors 4 months down the line, 6 months down the line, a year down the line. We've had every major retailer in the UK has visited at some time at the Spring Fair. As the independents, as I pointed out, key target market for us, which is blossoming very nicely. It's the number one trade fair in the UK, not matched by any of all the others. I'm sorry, that's the one. And that's why we've been there every year. And twice with the autumn fair that came into being some years ago. And we now, through our effectively changing training as such, I want our staff to enjoy it. So they work for 9-10 hours a day. They, by the time they've finished, it's probably 18 hours a day.
Yeah.
So instead of it being a chore, no, get a kick out of it. Build relationships, engage your customers and engage the company. So it's an essential part of our business, and our business is a mature business. We still need to show what we're about. There's always shifting sands from owners retiring, new people taking on the business, or the kids growing into the business. As with the major multiples, you got the buyers. They're forever changing. So maybe the new buyer doesn't know who the hell you are. You've got to be there. So to me, Spring Fair is, without a doubt, quite simply the number one.
One word to sum up Spring Fair, how would you describe it in one word?
Well,
come on, put on your William Shakespeare hat. One word.
All right. It's a must do. That's
It's
two
what?
words. A must do.
Must do. Okay.
Okay? Yeah, must do. You don't do it.
Is that one word? It's a new word.
Listen,
Mike.
I wasn't that well educated. It's a one word from my point of view. Must do.
Must do.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it's not in the dictionary, it should be.
Thank you very much indeed. An
Thank you.
absolute legend in his own lifetime, Mike Winch. Thank you very much indeed.